Hello everybody. This is a coffee exclusive video, as you should know if you're seeing it. Today is going to be something a little different. We're going to try something new. I did a little test recording to see if the audio balance was okay. It didn't sound too loud to me, so if there's problems with the audio, you can let me know afterwards and I can always adjust it. But basically, we're going to try this new program that I got. And I don't know if it's any good or not, but we're going to give it a shot. If you've been watching my streams or watching the other coffee exclusive videos, you will know that I have been studying kana recently. And basically kana are both, I think is my cursor visible? No, okay, hold on. Let me make my cursor visible to you guys so that this is a little bit easier. Capture cursor, done. Okay, now it should show up. Oops. There we go, now you can see it. Okay, so kana is the hiragana and the katakana characters in Japanese. There's kanji, which are the symbols that are used for words. Kana are kind of like the alphabet, so to speak. Now, I have only gotten as far as the base 46 symbols. I have not learned the modifiers yet. This app is called Kakitai, and I have not used this before, but it's free. And there's a few different things in here if you scroll down. There's games, you can do flashcards, you can learn sentences, you can track your statistics, you can change your settings for how you want things to show up. Now, because I've been using a app on my phone called Gogo Nihon, and that is how I've been learning the kana characters. Now this, when I click on kana characters to learn, you can choose different things. So I did like a test thing just to see how it works, but I didn't do like a lesson or a full thing. You can do practice writing, you can learn words using the characters, and you can, obviously we're on hiragana right now. You can do word tests. Now, because I haven't learned all the modifiers, I don't feel confident doing like full tests or anything yet. I know the base, and I also know the base 46 katakana. I'm a little shaky on a handful, I would say, between the four, like just recognition. Like if I see them, I know what they are, but if I am told in English what to write, sometimes it takes me a minute to remember which one is which. I get a few confused. And then there's also, you can do multiple choice tests, and same with the katakana, you can do multiple choice tests there. And then you can also do combined practice for reading and writing, for doing them together, or doing them separate. You can also do multiple choice. So I'm going to scroll up to the top, because we're just going to explore this a little bit, and I'm going to explain kind of, now I can't go too in-depth with how I learned. If you use the Gogo Nihon app, which is, it's free for the first lesson, and then if you like how it's teaching you, like if you like that method, because it's very specific, it's not just like repetition, it's literally, they give you building blocks to learn in a specific order, which makes it, at least for me, a visual learner who associates imagery with things. So, like, for example, music is very visual to me. If I hear a song in a movie or on a TV show, like, probably forever, I will remember that song with that scene or that movie that it is from. Even if it's, like, a popular song that's been in a million things. If I've seen it in a movie or on a TV show that I enjoyed, I will probably think of that scene when I hear the song, even if the movie wasn't, like, an amazing movie. So I'll try to like explain a little bit as I go through, but it's a little bit hard for me to give, like, I'm not gonna give a full lesson. So this app is totally free. I got it in the Windows store and the Microsoft store. So let's try. Do I get to pick and choose? Oh, I see. Okay. Well, what if I do? I don't want to do these characters. These are characters I don't know. So how do I? Hold on. Yes, I want to exit. Oh, sorry, I'm not familiar with the app itself, so I'm trying to, so if I do characters, what does it let me do? Characters from next test only, untested characters. I wish it would let me pick and choose, because some of these I have not learned yet. Like, any of these 3-letter ones, aside from 2, I have not learned. I wish you could choose which ones you do or what order you do. There's got to be a way to do this, right? Take a test of drawing characters, but I don't want to do these. If I hit finished, what happens? It just shows them as wrong. Okay, but how do I do the rest of the characters? Okay, hold on. I'm learning the app. We're learning the app together. If I go into settings, let's see. Number of items per test. Auto speak. Use grid for multiple character writing. Lower in quality if you are having problems while drawing. Difficulty easy. What is required for a character to be marked correct? The kanji or the English? Randomized practices. Speech recognition. Multi-choice and progressive. Use one track left-handed. Randomized practice. Default filters yeah, I mean, all of that looks right to me, so why can't I, like, if I go into here, it's so weird. I don't really understand the structure of this, because I have not learned all of the kana. Like, I have only learned the base kana, I don't know the modifiers. So let's go into practice. So this isn't in the same order that I learned it in, because I learned it in a very weird order, and I can actually show you the order that I learned in, if that makes sense. I don't know how long this will go, but hold on, let me open up on my phone the app that I learned from, because I can view the lesson plan, even though I completed it already. So for hiragana, if my phone app will work. So the first character they taught me in the app was actually ku, which is one stroke, and they teach you that it's like an open mouth of somebody giving you kudos. Now up here in the right hand corner, it gave me a green and it shows the symbol. So you can also choose for it to show you the answer. I'm not exactly on the mark, and it shows you the stroke order. So this is how this works, and you can erase if you need to erase. This up here, okay, so like, I don't know kana yet, so I don't, or kanji yet, so I can't read this. Like, I can't read that. But this says kana in hiragana. So then I'm assuming this means next. So I'm gonna go out because I actually want to show you in the order. So ku, mouth open, is somebody giving you kudos, right? So it's like an open, like a Pac-Man mouth, so to speak. The next character they taught me was tsu, and tsu is kind of easy because it looks like the shape of a tsunami, and it's one stroke, and it's a giant wave, basically, if you think of it as a wave. And this will come back for more characters. So in Gogo Nihon, when they teach you characters, so for example, if you go into tsu, it would tell you, you know, tsunami meaning harbor wave, and it starts with TSU, so that's the character. But they call this building block the surfer. So as a character, they call it surfer in that specific app. They teach you the building blocks like that. So if you remember tsu as surfer, this kind of a wave shape, that'll come back later on. So then if we go out of there and we go into the next one they taught you, which is u, just the letter u, they teach you kind of like the word udon, which is a type of noodle, and they introduce a new building block, which they call the naughty kid, the naughty child. So this one is 2 strokes, and a naughty kid is a tilted stroke. So they teach you to do naughty kid and then su, like this, for the surfer, so to speak, and they give you a story with it. So for example, for this character, they tell you, and this is, I'm reading directly from it, did you know udon noodles are the surfer's favorite meal? Picture her anger when she discovers the downright naughty kid has swapped them for worms. Now, obviously, that's a pretty long story to memorize, but if you can shorten it, at least for me, this is how I did it. I would write the character out as I'm reading all of this, and I would put, you know, the surfer's, you know, the naughty kid swapped out the surfer's udon or something, and I would just repeat that, you know, using the keyword udon while I was practicing the actual strokes. So as you can see up here in the top right, that's accurate. And then obviously handwriting differs, and then style of font differs. So you'll see in some places hiragana look different, and even on Microsoft keyboards, you'll see different looking hiragana, katakana, etc. The next one it teaches you is the letter I, which is pronounced like E, actually. And they use the word ill. and they introduce another building block, which is the cobra. And the cobra is another common building block. All the building blocks they teach you will recur in almost every character. So the cobra character is a curved stroke with kind of like a tail. So if you imagine the snake biting the naughty child, and he becomes ill. So ill is the word you want to remember. So you have the cobra, and then you have the naughty kid, and that might be too short. No, it's actually not too off. In the app, the characters are kind of different. So like in the app, if I want to go more precise with what my app teaches me, it's actually more like this, but it still shows that as correct. So that's kind of how you learn that one, right? You have the cobra and you have the child. Now, the one after I, they teach you, is Ke. And this one introduces yet another building block. In the beginning, this is like the first 7. I think they teach you in batches of 7. You learn different building blocks, and then you learn things that are similar but slightly modified. So Ke, Ke, as you can see on the left-hand side, still uses the cobra, but then it also introduces a new building block of the samurai, which looks like a sword or a cross. And basically, Ke for kebab. So the samurai uses his sword to make a snake kebab. So you have the snake, and then you have the samurai. I don't know why it's not detecting my strokes. It might be a little, well, it's correct. I mean, it almost matched exactly, unless I did it in the backwards order, but I don't think I did. Did I do it in the backwards order? No, I did it right. So cobra, and then, there we go. Okay, it showed up that time. It might have just been too far to the left. So Japanese, when they teach you, they give you grid paper, and you're supposed to sit somewhere specifically in the grid. So that sometimes, like, the app will tell you you're wrong, or it doesn't show up if you're not in the grid or close enough to the grid. So, again, Ke, kebab. The samurai, here, with his sword, is making a snake kebab, a cobra kebab, so to speak. So that's one, with another building block. A really simple one is He, H-E, which is where on here? Did I pass it? No, it's down here. Okay. So He, H-E, is for health. Health is the key word. And it's like climbing a mountain. If you can hike a mountain, you're probably healthy. And it's just a stroke like this. And again, I'm to the left because I'm writing on this long tablet, but that one's kind of easy. And that one's actually the same in katakana as it is in hiragana. There are a few that are the same, and then there are some that are similar but modified. That one's the same. It does not change. After He, we move on to Hi, which is H-I, which is here. And this one's more of like a standalone symbol. It doesn't use the other symbols. But if you just imagine looking at a hippo, so H-I-P-P-O, hippo, you get like a little hippo face. And its little ears and its face. And there's similar one in katakana first, and I always forget Safari, but S-A, it's kind of like the front of a bison, and it's not the same as this, but it's a kind of similar. They use a lot of pictograph sort of ideas. So let's see. That's, aside from my placement, it's not terrible. Okay, so after hippo, move on to K-O. Now this one, they do it a little bit different than the app I learned in. In the one that I learned in, this top stroke is not hooked. The bottom stroke is hooked, but that just might be a stylistic font difference. So for K-O, they teach you about koi. So it's 2 koi circling each other, and that's another building block that you'll see a lot of. So the top stroke, and then the bottom stroke. And it does make a difference which way you move. So even though I didn't do this connecting stroke here, it still shows up as ko. And then we move on to ni, which is down here. And so ni is the cobra nipping at the koi, or vice versa. I guess it doesn't technically matter. It's whatever helps you remember. So cobra, and then koi, which my answer, I'm too close to the edge. Yeah, they want it more spaced, but, or more together, I should say. There we go. Okay, so more together. But ni, nip together. So like a snake nipping at the koi, and then you remember that. Ta was the one after that, T-A, and this is the samurai's talent for catching koi only with his sword. So in this one, we have the samurai, and then we have the koi. And again, my handwriting in English isn't great, and obviously I'm a native English speaker raised in America, and my handwriting is just terrible. So I'm sure that I will require lots of practice to get good at, and you can also use this app to practice like tracing if you really wanted to. So you could get kind of really exact with it if you want to, but it also just shows you the stroke order. So after ta, talons, you would move on to shi, and shi is short for ship, and it looks like a fishing hook. So you're on a ship and you like to go fishing, you got a fishing hook, and it's literally kind of like a backwards J. That's it, one stroke, ship. And you will use ship again, maybe in the next one. Yeah, in the next one. So the next one they teach you is mo, M-O. M-O. Okay, so M-O. Now, in katakana versus hiragana, you learn this stroke backwards. So it just depends on what you're doing. If you're doing it in hiragana, you do ship first, and then 2 strokes, and that's mo. And the way to remember that is Captain Morgan is very good at fishing, so he catches 2 koi on his fishing hook. Kind of basic, right? It's the same basic J shape, backwards J shape, and then the strokes. In katakana, the 2 strokes come first, and they are the toppers for the backwards J. But we won't do that right now. We'll get to that when we get to that. The next one is ma. And again, this is not like how fast you should be. Like, you should not be absorbing this by watching me do this. But when I do the app, I literally would repeat the same character to like 10, 15 times in literally at once, like back to back to back to back, and then like write it on paper like 20 times while saying it out loud to myself, or saying the keyword to myself, I should say, and then do quizzes at the end of each like 7 characters that I would learn. So I would just keep quizzing myself over and over and over and over and over again. And on the Gogo Nihon app, you can see your stats, and you can do quizzes, and you can quiz yourself on past courses. I think they give you approximately 7 to 9 characters per course, and you learn all of the hiragana first, and then you learn all of the katakana, and then you learn the modifiers. I just haven't gone through the modifiers yet. So the next one is ma, and in ma, you learn about the grandmother shape, which is a hook shape, or a loop shape, I should say. So if you think about grandma, and she's always knitting, she has a loop. So for example, this shape, right? That's not the character for ma, but that's the shape of grandmother. So if you think of a loop as grandma, grandma will appear in a bunch of characters too. She's another building block. In this one, grandma is very good at catching koi with only hooking a maggot on a line. So you have your koi, and then you have your grandma. Not too bad, right? Ma, maggot. Kind of gross to think about, but it works. Another one is su. If you think about sushi, the samurai and grandma like to make sushi together, and they make 9 types of sushi, and the reason it's 9 types of sushi is because the number 9, in English anyways, is visible in this shape. So if you think of your samurai, the cross shape, but then you think of grandma, the loop, and a number 9, you have a nice number 9 here, right? So you have your samurai cross, but you have your grandmother loop, and that's su for sushi. And that's, this is for me a good way to remember things. Let me scroll down a little bit. Te, so te, like the number 10, or like the letter T, is 1 stroke, and it's kind of like this, like a T, like a fancy stroke of a T. So that's not too bad to remember. The next one in the lesson was so. So using the number 10, and then also thinking of the number 7, if a soccer match goes 7 to 10, that would be so, soccer, and I always have a problem with this one because of the size, but it's a 7, and then it's a 10. It did detect that as correct, though. My shape is always bad on this one, but that's actually pretty good. So soccer, 7 up here to the 10 that we just learned. What else? Then we move on to chi. Chi. Now this one I always flip around because there's 2 characters that look the same but are mirrored. So chi and sa are the same exact shape but mirrored, and I always get them backwards. But this uses your samurai shape and your surfer shape together. One faces left, one faces right. Now the story they give you on Gogo Nihon is for chi, they teach you chill, which the samurai, is given a surfing lesson on how to chill. And my only problem is I can never remember which one faces which way. So for chi, you know, you have your samurai sword cross, and this one faces this way, and that's chi. Now if you flip it, hold on, I'm trying to look at 2 screens at once. After that one, so scroll down, there should be sa. So sa is literally the same shape, but the other direction. And going from sa, you would do ki, K-I, which is the same shape, but with the koi introduced. Now, in Gogo Nihon, they teach you about kissing at the beach. So kiss, K-I. But yes, but you have how do they word it? Hold on, let me look at the wording for this. So the story they give you for kiss is, because a straight line like this is the building block for the number 1, because that's how you write the number 1 in Japanese, is a stroke like that by itself. So that's the kanji for 1. So the samurai, the surfer, and the number 1. So the wording for this story is identical to Sa, but with an extra stroke. This image is of the samurai's one regret that he did not kiss the surfer when he had the chance. So samurai, surfer, and the number 1. And you get ki for kiss. See, that's not... Now I always mirror the 2 Sa and chi a lot in my head. Because in my head, I'm like, I know that one is one and one is the other, but I can never remember which. Moving on from that one, we go to no. And this one's kind of easy too, because it's a universal symbol, or it's a version of a universal symbol for, like, if you think of a lot of the places you see this, right? Like as the symbol for, like, do not enter, do not smoke, etc. No dogs. If you think about it as stylized, there you go. It's no. N-O. And this is kind of a building block too. You will see a lot of this in other shapes. So jumping off of the no, the samurai... So you think of A for apple for this keyword, and the story behind apple is the samurai laughing at a sign telling him it's not okay to cut up an apple with a sword, see him throwing an apple into the air and chopping it perfectly into sized pieces before catching them in his mouth. And you use samurai, and you use the no sign, and that's your apple. You know, it's not supposed to look like an apple. And I think a lot of people hear, like, the keywords and they think about, it should look like this. But see, like, this teaches you in alphabetical order, so to speak. And the app that I use taught you more in order of the structure of the character. So now we're using symbols that we've learned to make more symbols. If I go down to na. So this one uses a few symbols, actually. This one uses samurai, naughty child, and grandma. And the word would be nap. So here we see Grandma telling the samurai to take an afternoon nap if he wants to live as long as her. Now imagine his rage when he finds the naughty kid has scribbled all over his face while he napped. And nap is samurai, naughty child, grandma, all separately. Now obviously they want you to do it more close together. Oops. So samurai, and this is also like more combined. I did not learn them combined, but again, that's like handwriting style. But yes, they do teach you it disconnected. So stroke, 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 stroke. And that's for nap, N-A. See? And you're learning, you're remembering, like, oh, grandma, loop, samurai, sword, kid, tilted line. That sort of thing. After na, we move on to ro. Where is ro? Ro is down here. So ro is for romance. And if you think about the surfer getting up at 7 a.m. to going for a nice romantic ride out on the beach, you have 7 and then the wave. And there you go. That's row right there. One stroke, wave, 7 on top. You know, my handwriting is not great. My practice is not wonderful yet, but we're getting there. But even if we follow this, you have your 7 and your wave. So that's row. And then ru, which is ru, ru is almost identical, except it's for rubies. So what's more romantic than a ride at 7 a.m. out on the waves is finding some rubies. So you have your stroke, and then you just have a little loop like this, and that's the ruby. That's the stone, right? Found in the waves. How about that? Very similar. Ru, Ro. Then we can move on to a series of similar characters. Let me scroll down. Where is it? So starting with Wa. So police is another building block. A policeman. So policeman is an upright straight line. Now imagine 7 policemen looking for the surfers' lost wax for their surfboard. You have the policeman first, 7, and then the way for the surfer. Now this is going to lead us into Re, which is R-E. And it's similar. Again, you have your policeman looking for the remedy for a snake bite, and this is implied to be the cobra shape connected to the 7. So the police looking for remedy. And all of these kind of symbols start with the same sort of straight line, and then 7, and then whatever the finishing symbol is. If you move on from that one, you can move on to Ne, this one. So the police are looking for the grandmother's stolen necklace. And you have the loop at the end for grandma. And it's similar to the wa sound with for the wax. And you have necklace for grandma. And you have the loop for the grandma shape. And those are all almost the same shape, but just different finishing strokes. The next one would be RI for ritual. Sorry, the scrolling is a little slow. I'm on pen, so... this one, they kind of teach you... I don't know if... They teach you criminal for this one, I think is the next building block. Yes. So criminal is... If the tall straight line is for police, then the crooked line is for criminal, and he's a building block as well. So a lot of criminals, or yakuza, get tattoos. Maybe he's got a cobra tattoo. And that's your crooked line for your criminal, and your bent line for your cobra bite. And that's RI for ritual. Ritual tattoo of the snake. Let me see. And then the one after that would be M. This one I always forget. This is one of the handful of ones that I always forget. And the word is supposed to be milk. And you use the 7, the grandma, and the criminal. At 7 every morning, grandma goes down to collect the milk delivery from her doorstep. Today, however, the criminal has already stolen it. Imagine his milky mustache as he pleads innocence is what they tell you in the thing. And so it's 7 grandma, and then criminal, crooked line. And I always forget. So if we clear it and we try to trace it a little bit more neatly, that's not too bad. So that's me, M-I. Sorry, in the app I have to keep going back and forth, and it's a little slow. Okay, then we can move on to O, which is similar to apple. Now, for O, if you want to think of orange instead of apple, think of a similar story of the continuation of the story for apple. Only this time, the kid has replaced the apple with an orange, and he is not okay with it. So you use the no sign. Again, you're going to use the naughty kid, the samurai, and the not okay sign. So you have your samurai, who's not okay, with the kid swapping out his apples for oranges. And that's O, the letter O for orange. And I'm sure for people who don't want to learn Japanese, like, maybe this is not interesting. I had a few people ask me to do kind of an explanation of how I've been learning. And obviously without showing you the actual app that I use, which is on my phone, not on my computer like this. It's a little tricky. But I'm kind of giving you the literal baseline for what they taught me. And obviously the app is much more involved and hands-on. And it also speaks to you, and it repeats characters like every time you draw them. And it gives you tests and quizzes, and you can mix and match your katakana and your hiragana. It all just depends. But I do recommend that app. It is $5 for the full version, but it's worth it. If you're actually interested in learning your kana, I would... It's more than worth $5. Did I skip it? Yes, I did. Sorry. Alright, so the next one is just the letter N. What did they... I'm trying to remember the word they gave for N. Because the symbol's kind of easy. Oh, they just tell you it's the letter N. So the letter N is also a building block, even though it's a letter. So the letter N is kind of just like a fancy N. Almost like an H, but it has a longer... So instead of being like this, it's just a longer starting point. So one stroke, bam. and that's N, and that's a building block, because we will see that in more characters. Let's see, what did they teach after N? I hate having to scroll back and forth on this. It's E. I think for this one they teach you exam, so it's the naughty kid has gotten an N on his exam, and I'm trying to, hold on, let me look at the story, because I always forget. I wish I could pull up the stories faster on my phone. So yes, exam is the word, and you use naughty kid, letter N, and the number 1. So it's exam season at school, and the naughty kid sets a new school record by scoring just 1% on his exam and receiving the legendary letter N grade as a result. So for this one, you have your naughty kid, the crooked line, you have your number 1, the straight line, and then the letter N. So again, that's just crooked line for naughty kid, and then kind of that 7 shape, but because this is the letter N fully, this is counted as like the number 1 symbol, if that makes sense. Hopefully my phone's vibration isn't too loud on the mic. So that's one. That's not too bad. Yo. I'm so used to learning them in like one order that like it's so weird to see them all like mixed up. So yo, they teach you the it's another pictogram kind of thing. You use the loop for grandma. So think of grandma doing her morning yoga. So you have her arm outstretched, and then this is her doing yoga, right? And it's the grandma loop shape, so to speak. So her arms are out, and she's stretching, and she's doing her morning yoga. So that's grandma doing yoga, and yo is the character. Ha and ho are very similar. There's a 1-stroke difference. So if you think about the grandmother giving a samurai a hat because it's hot outside, so you have your cobra, he's hunting, he's fighting off cobras, and then you have the samurai sword but with a grandma loop, and that's ha, and that's for hat. So he's got a little, he's getting a hat from grandma. But if you go into ho, which is for hot, so you have hat and you have hot. So it's so hot outside that he has put the hat on. And the first one she's making him a hat, I think, is the story. Now the difference here is you're going to have the 2 lines like this, parallel, and you're going to not go through them, but you're going to start at them. Why is it showing that as wrong? Is it spaced? Oh, because it's showing it as, hold on. It might be showing it as cobra instead of, there we go. Okay. My hook was too big. Technically, it's supposed to be just like a little stroke with a nub. So like, see, like this one they show you like, and then you have your 2 lines and your loop. So that's ho. So ha and ho are like a story. And then so are the next 2, which are me and nu. So me is for medicine, and the story for medicine is well, the building blocks are naughty kid and not okay. Even the best behaved child doesn't like to take their medicine, so you can imagine how the naughty kid protests, waving a not okay sign right in the doctor's face. So you have the kid, 1 stroke, and then you have the not okay symbol. And then to go off of that same kind of symbol, we go to nu. And this one is that the little kid is running around naked in protest, and the grandmother is not okay with it. So the grandmother loop is now at the end of that same shape. So you go from doing this to doing this. Not a huge difference, but it is a difference. The one after nu is fu. This one took me a minute, and honestly the imagery they told me did not help me remember it. I had to come up with my own imagery. So this is fu. The way they teach you is that it's an aerial scene of a fight going on Mount Fuji. And the story is, so the story they give you is it's naughty kid and criminal. And this is, I'm going to read you how long this is. An image of the worst night's sleep possible, camped out on the top of Mount Fuji, lying on a lumpy futon, the 2nd stroke. surrounded by criminal and not one but two naughty kids. This is perhaps the most complex of the hiragana. Try to picture the character as a bird's eye view of the scene described above. Lumpy futon in the middle, criminal to the left, naughty kids to the front and to the right. Now, I'm going to tell you how I remembered this as an American person who grew up in, the late 80s and 90s. I remember this as Doug Funny from the show Doug, which when you see it drawn out, like the way that generally you're taught to teach it. So Doug Funny was always kind of like he wasn't like sad, but he was always kind of like the loser, so to speak. So I imagined his wispy hair, his big nose, and then his kind of sad eyes. Now, yes, they teach you this as the typed out, but in the actual stroke fashion that I was taught, it was literally taught like this. So here's a stylized version. We'll clear mine out. So stroke. Which it's funny that they teach this as one stroke, because in mine it taught it as 4 strokes. And they do teach it as 4 strokes on here. So for example, stroke, big nose, and they even teach it as being way down here, but on my app, literally what they teach you is they taught you kind of like a curve, and then like this. So the whole futon scene is hard to remember, but to me I was like, oh, like Doug Funny with his big nose and his kind of like goldfish bowl eyes and his wispy hair. So that was my way of remembering. Now everyone remembers stuff differently, and there are other apps that teach you different keywords to remember. So it's all up to you and like what kind of learner you are and what your mental imagery is good with. So the next character would be Toe, and you use I think, is this considered a building block? Yes. So toe, like the word toe, T-O-E, is a building block. And the shape is kind of like this, like that, almost like the Doug Funny nose. So for the letters T-O, the character is the naughty kid and the toe. And he stubs his toe on some toys. So the naughty kid has stubbed his toe. And yes, they're technically supposed to touch. My handwriting's just poopy, so something like that. So, the naughty kid stubs his toe on some toys. And that is how you learn toe. I don't know how far in are we. How far in are we? Because I feel like I've done a bunch. Oh, we're actually almost done. Okay. So for whoa, W-O. Where did W at? Did I pass W? I guess I did. No, I didn't. They put the modifiers in front of the regular ones. That's why I'm kind of confused. Okay. So whoa, which I guess is a particle, which I did not know. They teach you the samurai is how do they word it? They word it that he's the samurai in the toe are the 2 symbols you need, and the samurai's only other possession he likes besides his sword is his wok. So he's warming his toes around the fire while he cooks at his wok. So you have the samurai, and his toes are by the wok. And then if we want to get super fancy, it would be... So that's the samurai and his bent legs and his toes, and then he's cooking at his wok. So this is W-O, and this is where his wok is. It's down at his feet. And then the next one would be Ka, which is good for karate. And the symbols you use for Ka are the criminal and the naughty kid. So imagine a criminal and a naughty kid fighting with karate, and it's kind of supposed to be like a fist pictogram or pictograph. I never remember which word is which. But you start with I believe you start with, let me make sure I do this correctly. Yes, okay. So you have the fist shape, you have the crooked line for the criminal, and then you have the line for the child. And if you want to be fancy about it, so you have your fist shape, you imagine it as an extended arm, and then your naughty kid. I'm probably gonna... How long has this been? This has been about 40 minutes. So I'm probably gonna do the hiragana as one video, and then maybe go through katakana as a second video. I don't expect anyone to actually learn from this. It's just kind of like a, if you're interested in seeing how I'm learning kind of thing. I know some people had said they were interested in seeing I don't have, so on Apple, screen recording is built into your phone. On Android, you have to install screen recording, like as a separate third-party thing. I don't have screen recording on my phone, so that's why I'm not recording the actual app I've learned from. And also, drawing with your finger on a phone screen is not as refined as doing with this, which is... I have problems with the phone app on certain characters because with your finger, you can only be so fine with your stroke space, and it doesn't detect if you're a little bit off in certain places. So I prefer to show on this one. But you can always go install Gogo Nihon for free and try it. And you can do the first lesson, and if you don't like it, then you didn't pay anything. Ra is for rant. And this is another character I was forgetting for a lot, because this includes the naughty kid, the cop, and the surfer. And the story, again, for this one is kind of long. A continuation of the story for you, Udon, where the naughty kid put worms in the surfer's udon. The surfer grabs a nearby cop. Notice the building blocks are connected, as he's too young to arrest. Instead, the cop subjects the kid to a long rant about the dangers of eating worms. And in this one, it's 2 strokes. So you have your naughty kid, crooked line, and then a little bit over here you have the cop and the surfer. And that's obviously not super beautiful, but... essentially along those lines. Let's see the fancy version. So that's the thing about this app too, is it'll also show you kind of more like a... Sorry, I'm not super used to the pressure on here yet, so I'm like trying to... Okay, but yeah, so rant. You have your naughty kid, your cop, and your surfer. We're almost to the end of the hiragana, believe it or not, or the base hiragana. Obviously, there's modifiers on all of these. After rant is you. I hope the music hasn't been too loud all this time, and I just am like derp derp. So if you think about the cop offering, I think it's... So it's yukata is the word for it, and it's the cobra, the criminal, and the surfer. Remember the criminal's cobra tattoo? Well, when you go into an onsen, you have to cover your tattoo, so maybe the surfer has gifted him a yukata. So you have one symbol of the criminal, or the surfer, and the cobra, and then a crooked line through here. Some of the stories are long, and you just have to figure out, like, shortened... I used to just figure out shortened versions of them to remember. Again, everyone learns differently. The next one is Se. And this one is for Sensei. And this one had kind of a weird story, too, because you'd think, oh, Sensei, you know, is kind of straightforward. The building blocks are 1 and Cobra. The Cobra Sensei carrying his young student on his back, hence the flat tail. Teaching him the number 1 rule of survival, always be aware of what's behind you. You can see the student is facing backwards, diligently checking for predators. And you do a straight line first, and then you do the student, who's the little tiny snake, and then you do sort of a long undershape like this. So, like that. And then if we want to see the fancy way, it's not actually too far off. So there you go. That's Se for Sensei. Senpai. You can learn Senpai with this. Okay, if we go back, we have 2 left. The next 2 are... Mu. Okay, so this one threw me a little bit. So the story they give for this is Muchas Gracias, which if you're trying to learn Japanese, the last thing you want to do is then put Spanish in the mix if you're not learning from being Spanish or speaking Spanish. But yes, they give you Muchas Gracias as your building block catchphrase for Mu. And the symbols that you use are Samurai Grandma and Naughty Kid. So if you imagine the Samurai and the Grandma making sushi, imagine that the Naughty Kid has stolen some and has dropped a trail of rice, and the trail of rice is leading to him. So you have a trail of rice, and then you have a symbol up here. So Su for sushi was this, right? So if you bring this down and loop it around and put a line over it, you get Mu. So from Su to Mu. So Muchas Gracias. He's yelling Muchas Gracias as he runs away, stealing the sushi. Let's clear this and look at the fancy version. My circles aren't that tight yet. And obviously if you go slower, you get a little bit better at it. But... yeah, so that's mu for muchas gracias, which is funny to me. I'm like, I never took Spanish class. Don't be teaching me Spanish in the middle of trying to learn Japanese. I'm trying to absorb Japanese. Yeah. When I was a kid, I was learning French, and I had to take a Spanish class for my school because they didn't offer any other languages at the time, like at the grade that I was at. So I had to take a Spanish 101 class when I was like in 4th or 5th grade. But I was already learning French for like a while, and they would like have you get up in front of the class and like count to 20 or something, and I would always speak in French, and it would like drive my teacher insane. And I'm like, you can't teach me 3 languages at once. Like, I'm a small child, I'm learning English class, I have French class, and now you're trying to teach me Spanish class, which is similar but not the same. So this is kind of the same. It's like, don't teach me 2 languages at once. My brain can only absorb so much pudding at once. And the last of the base characters is Ya. And this one is another pictograph kind of thing. So it's for Yakuza, is the word they give you. And if you imagine a Yakuza member having his finger cut off, as graphic as that is what they teach you. So this is 3 strokes. You have a bent finger for the Yakuza member, you have the blood squirting from the finger, and you have the knife cutting his fingertip. Yep, that's what they teach you in the app. And in here, a little bit fancier. Oops, technically this goes first. In this app, they don't punish you for not doing it in order, but in the other app, you have to do it in stroke order. So, which is good, because you learn the correct stroke order. So, yeah, you want to do 1, 2, and then 3, if you want to do it properly. And again, this will show you 1, 2, 3. But that's the 46 base hiragana characters. Now, when I say modifiers, what I mean is you can put, I want to say everything right. So, when you see 2 little lines like this at the end of a character, these are called ten-ten. And basically, those change certain sounds into other sounds. So we know this is ki, K-I, but if you add ten-ten to K sounds, you get G sounds. So this would be gi instead of ki. Another example of a ten-ten sound, aside from G, would be S to Z. So sa, which we know as this, would turn into that, and that's correct. So S turns into Z, and then T letters turn into D. So ta turns into da. So you draw them the same. Ta. Oh, my bad. I clicked on ta instead of da. I meant to click on da. You guys know what I mean to do. So da. And again, you draw them in the same order, and then you add the ten-ten. And you add T turns into D, and H sounds turn into... Where are my H sounds at? Did I pass them? I think I passed them. I didn't even notice. H sounds turn into B sounds. Now, F is put in with the H sounds, as weird as that is. So you have ha, he, fu, because there's no hu, there's no HU. Fu, he, and ho turn into ba, bi, bu, be, bo. So, bo. Now, certain characters, there's no space in the grid system for the ten-ten, so they go under instead of up here. So, for example, in gu, instead of it being like this, it would be down here. Like that. So that's one modifier. Oop, hold on. My phone is locking. No, don't lock. I need to refer to my stuff. Also, I keep getting text messages while trying to read, which is not helping. Okay, so ten-ten or dot dot are in the top right, either right below the corner if there's something there, if it's occupying the grid, basically. So here, this top is occupying the grid that in here we can't see. Otherwise, they go onto the top right corner. And there's only a few characters where it kind of goes in a funky place, like these sort of characters, where it goes below, but not most of them. Now, the other modifier that you see, and there are other like exclusions to that are less common. I don't know if they're on here or not. Let me see if there is one on here, because I didn't see it up there. Is it up here? Did I just not see it? Where is it? Maybe it's not on here because it's not that common. Oh, maybe it isn't. Okay, so on the app that I learned, hold on, let me go back for a second. So an example that is not on here would be that sometimes 1010 is, oh, because it's in the katakana class technically. So there's also some like pronunciation changes. So zu sometimes is read as, or yeah, it's not read as, where is it? Hold on, I'm trying to find it. Where be? So this DSU. See, now on my app it doesn't teach me DSU. It teaches me like as DU. But they tell you basically to say like zu, like with a Z sound. That's one thing. The she and the chi with the 1010 are both read as JI, but one is more common than the other. And then there's the only time you really see 1010 in katakana is when the letter U in katakana is turned into vu. It adds a sound to it. And the other modifier, aside from 1010 that's super common, is the maru, which, let me scroll down and see. So, for example, a maru is this little circle. And that turns H sounds into P sounds, so this would be pe instead of he. Because obviously he is just a little mountain hill, right? So your H sounds turn into P. So for example, aside from pe, you would have... And this, I think, also works in katakana? Yes, this works in katakana. Which, so for example, in katakana and hiragana, if you want to write ho or ho, if you want to write ho, so we know that ho in hiragana is that shape, right? And if you add that, it turns into po. However, in katakana, if you want to write ho, you make this, and then you can also modify that H sound to be po. So this one applies to both in katakana, and this is H sounds to P sounds. So pa, pi, pu, pe, po would be with the maru, M-A-R-U. Another common modifier is a long sound, which is a chu on, and I'm sure I'm not saying that perfectly. The way you would spell that is as I bang my knuckles on the desk as hard as possible. So chuan, pardon my scribbly, and that means long sound, and that is when a vowel character is preceded by the same vowel sound and is read as one long vowel instead of two separate vowels. So for example, like an example they give here in the app anyways, if you write ku, K-U, but then you follow with another U, this makes this sound, right? Or if you do something like su followed by U, and that would be su, instead of saying like su, because like there is, you separate like the characters usually, unless they're combined. The combination of an O sound followed by a U could be also read as a long O. When written in Romaji, which is like when you write out Japanese in English lettering, chuan is sometimes represented with a horizontal line over the vowel, which I think is pretty common with a lot of languages. I don't know if that's true, but I think so. So an example of that would be if you wrote out, pardon my scribble, I'm doing it in a fairly small amount of space. So this word would be written out in Romaji as either okasan with two A's, because there's two A, there's a K-A sound, and then there's a standalone A, right? So this is ka like karate, and this is A like apple. But a lot of places will just write it like this, and that fills in the two A's instead of writing out two A's. In katakana, you use a long horizontal line in between, almost like a hyphen, but a long one, to do the same effect. So, for example, in katakana, you would do ire, be, and this is like the Japanese word for elevator, which would be erabita, which is bi-ta. So this is a long sound, and this is a long sound, because this is be, and this is ta. But you're extending an invisible a and an invisible e, so to speak. So I'm still learning this stuff, like these modifiers. Another modifier is what they call the little tsu, which is the tsu symbol, the tsunami symbol, but drawn smaller, like drawn half size to the other characters. And an example of that would be if you want to draw the sound, and basically that doubles the sound of the consonant that follows it. And this is, again, I'm still learning this, so I'm just showing for example. So for example, if you do ma, like M-A, and then a small su, and then T-E, this would be like mate, right? I don't know. I'm trying to learn this, because it says it has the effect of doubling the sounds of the consonant. But I'm not really sure. Hold on. I'm gonna try and take my headphones off for a second so I can hear this, just so I don't sound like an idiot. Okay, yes. So if you write like this, so this is M-A-T-E, but with a thing in the middle. This would be mate. So this would be said more like mate. So it's almost like you're saying two separate T's, even though there is no T here. There's a T here, but there's no T beginning it. So another example of that would be, let me clear this. So this is basically soniku. So you have so, ni, and then you have, hold on a second, I'm having a moment. Oh, no. Yeah, ni, and then, oh, because, okay, I see. So this symbol is su in katakana. Sorry, I was confused because I'm like, that doesn't make sense, but this is ku. So you have sa, ni, and then you have, if you draw this, I drew it too big is part of the problem. It's kind of hard to see on the phone because it's already written really small, but basically you want it to be like half the size of the other characters, and that's your extender. So instead of saying tsu, you would read soniku, but with two K's. So it'd be like there would be a second K here. So it'd be like soniku. This is the part where I'm kind of getting complex on. And then there's yuan, which is yuan. So yuan, written out as u-on, yuan. And that means contracted sound, and it is when certain characters are drawn half size and inserted after other characters to combine those sounds. And there's a bunch of these, so I won't write all of them out. There's like full lists, but the three main characters that you on with is the Yakuza symbol, so ya, the symbol for you, like this, and then yo, which was the yoga grandma, right? So these are the three main symbols that you would do that with. Now, for example, if we did the symbol for ki, and then we did a tiny little ya, that would make kya as one word. Instead of it being K-I-Y-A, it would be one sound. And the same thing with if you do, it's hard on this screen because I can't draw it super small, but that would be Q instead of Kiyu. And this goes for basically all of the sound combinations. There's also small vowels, which you can also write vowels small and use them in combination with other characters, and this is most exclusively used in katakana to write foreign words or names. So this one's not super common, and I don't know really, like, I don't know, this one's, I don't know, I mean, I guess it makes sense. I'll learn it more as I learn words, right? That's the thing, is I guess it makes sounds that don't really exist in Japanese most of the time. So for example, if you use this to, this is to, and then you use, this is katakana. So hold on, let me make this a little bit better. So to, but then you use a small u sound. This makes to instead of toyu. It makes tu or to, depending on what word I guess you're using it in. And same thing, this is in katakana, mind you. So this would be fu, like futon. But if you add the small character for o after it, which again, this kind of symbol is a little hard to squeeze in here, you get fo. So it's on the screen, it's sometimes hard to tell like which characters are meant to be small because they're not super tiny. Like when I'm reading them on the app, they're like a tiny bit smaller. So for me, it's kind of hard to tell as a new reader. So small vowels are a thing. And then the last thing that they kind of teach you as a bonus lesson, so to speak, is that they give you words to try and learn. So because we just did hiragana, I'm not gonna write these out for you guys because they're all in katakana. But for example, you can use some of those techniques to know that you have like ha, ri, this is extender, so ha, ri, and then like they use a space. Pa, Harry Potter. And that's not even like trying to be funny. That's literally like if you can hit play on any of the things they give you in the app to hear it. That's how it's said because it has the extenders on it. So it's Hari with extended E, and then Pa Ta with that. And they give you a bunch of like English words and phrases, or like Star Wars, Lord of the Rings, Harry Potter, words that are English that are I haven't learned the Japanese term for it, but just like in French or English or any other language, there's like quote-unquote stolen or borrowed words, and Japanese is the same. They have tons of words, like DVD player is DVD player, you know, like they don't have a specific Japanese word for it. It just is written in Japanese, so they only have certain sounds and they kind of work with those sounds. So that was basically the rundown of baseline hiragana, like super fast. Now, obviously, I did not learn it that super fast. I learned, I would say maybe 7 characters a day for like a week. And there's 46 base without all the modifiers and stuff. Because you have your vowels, right? Well, actually, let me go back here. So you have all of your vowels. You have A, E, I, O, U. You have those vowels plus K, plus G, plus H, or plus S, plus T, plus N, plus F, plus M, plus Y, plus R, and plus W, and then like 1 or 2 off ones like N, for example, is like a standout consonant. But really, like, if there's 46 characters and you learn 7 a day, and I mean like not just like look at them and draw them once, I mean like I was drawing these, you know, dozens of times that day. Like I would be saying them out loud, I would be saying the key phrase to remember them, I would be reading the story on the app, and I was remembering them. Like by the time I would get to, you know, 15 characters and doing the test of 15 characters, I was remembering things still from lesson 1. When I got to the, you know, 40th character, I was still remembering things from lesson 1. I was remembering the building blocks. And there's a few that I still, like, if I do the tests, I'll slip up on, or like I might forget it momentarily, but like if I hear the key phrase, I'll remember it immediately. It's practice, you know, and I've had a few days where I haven't practiced at all, which of course doesn't help. You want to practice as much as possible. And I will say this, it's an intimidating language. My brother said that I was crazy for trying to learn Japanese. But honestly, if you practice even 5 minutes every day, 5 minutes, even if you just do a little quiz, you know, while you're, you know, waiting for your coffee in the morning, or while you're sitting in the car, or, you know, while you're waiting for your food to get delivered, anything, you know, while you're sitting on the toilet or you're laying in bed unable to sleep, if you download an app that works for you and you do even just 5 characters, 7 characters, you know, learn one character really, really well, and keep at it. Like, write it on paper. Don't just do it on the app or on your computer. Like, do it on a piece of paper. Print out some free Japanese gridded paper, and use the measurement and the stroke order, and just practice even with a regular pen or pencil. That's what I was doing. I wasn't using any fancy, expensive equipment. This app is free. You can download this app, and obviously it has tons of features. And even this app, you can print, you know, you can print out all of this. You can print out grid sheets with the characters here, with the stroke order, and it shows you right here. And you can print this out and practice right from here, and it has it for all of it, not just for this page. So if you want to even try just learning a little bit, I would recommend Gogo Nihon. A lot of people have recommended, I think it's called Human Japanese. I haven't tried that yet, but a lot of people who are like very fluent like that app. italki is an app that's sort of like it hooks you up with somebody who's like a native level speaker or a native speaker, and you can practice conversation like essentially on Zoom or on video chat. There's lots of options. Like I've talked about, I would like to eventually switch over my Animal Crossing to Japanese, but I'm not at the point of being able to like read yet. So I'm still working on my hiragana and my katakana, and then my modifiers. My modifiers are the next big thing for me to practice. That'll probably be like this week's focus. And if you guys are interested in this kind of thing, like, I have no problem showing you more of like, I'll do a video for katakana, you know, and you guys can see like the baseline. Now obviously as we scroll through here, you see combinations of characters, and that's just like I was talking about before with the small Y sounds and such. But yeah, a few people had asked to see this, so I'm gonna throw it out there, and if nobody likes it, then, you know, it's whatever. But I just wanted to share, and it also gives me a little bit more practice, and I get to talk about it a little bit, not just to myself. So if you're interested in this app, again, this is on I don't know if this is on mobile or not, I haven't looked. This app is the Kakitai Learn Japanese by Writing app. It's in the Windows shop. I'm using this just on a regular Windows computer right now. Obviously it's easier if you have a digitizing pen, but you can do it with a mouse, you know. As you can see, it's not super picky as long as you're close. And there's lots of different lessons and flashcards, and there's games and stuff in here, and you can learn sentences, and you can learn full words and phrases, and choose your difficulty and choose how you want to customize how it takes your answers. And you can actually add words in. If there's stuff in the app that's not there that you want to practice, you can manually go in, and it lets you add stuff in as characters, as words, or as sentences or whatever. I haven't gotten to that point yet, but I did stumble across the feature. So for a free app, you can't really ask for much more in terms of practice, and especially if you need practice with making the strokes, this is a good way to do it. So I would recommend it. And if any of my followers or any of my friends who are seeing this or have talked to me about my Japanese studies are interested in practicing together, you know, let me know, and we'll do something together. But otherwise, this is kind of what I've been up to, and I'll probably record a second one for katakana, and this will be just a little thing for us here on Coffee to enjoy. And I hope everyone has a great day or a great night, and hopefully the music wasn't too loud all this time and you guys couldn't hear me, because I think I have it pretty quiet. But I also know how OBS is sometimes. You balance stuff and then it just does whatever. So let's hope that this recorded okay, because I did do a test recording first. Alright, nothing else. I will see you guys on stream. I will see you guys in the next Coffee video. Look out for the katakana video, and we will be continuing island development in Animal Crossing. And maybe one day we'll be able to switch over Animal Crossing to Japanese, and that would be so great. Have a good one. Thanks for watching this, and thank you so much for supporting me here on Coffee if you're seeing this video. Look forward to more exclusive content soon, and to exclusive sales for the Etsy shop. Bye!